All right, so my name is Steven Walbroehl. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Halborn. We're a cybersecurity company, and I wanted to thank you guys for inviting us to the Cross-Chain Builders Conference. Unfortunately, we're not the builders, we're the cross-chain breakers. And this is a very interesting topic to discuss because Halborn, we are partners and we secure a lot of the people that you're hearing from today. Nir and Aurora and Alex, from D-Bridge just got off, and we've been working with them for a very long time. So on the plane ride over here, I'm from Miami, I was like, what the hell am I going to talk about here and not throw somebody under the bus and not talk about a vulnerability you guys can read on like a Twitter space. So I wanted to discuss something that kind of impacts everybody here as we build. And something that, think of it as a warning. Has anybody seen The Big Short before? Yeah, the Big Short? Okay, yeah, it's about the 2008 financial crisis.
Sorry, I just need to change the mic.
And, much louder. I like that. Yeah, so once again, who's seen The Big Short here? A few of you guys? Okay. So I turned 40 next week, and I lived through it. I'm sure I'm like older than many people here. But I wanted to talk about some similarities that have been bothering me and some risks around bridges. And this is not a bearish presentation. It's just something to think about. And a really good quote that comes to mind is from Jurassic Park, where Ian, Jeff Goldblum says, "Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should." And these are a lot of patterns that are occurring again and again that I just wanted to say this as we build, to think about the long-term effects of what we're doing to make sure that this ecosystem thrives. So this is the big stake, and it's going to go through the risks, and they're not technical risks. This is going to be around financial risks and really the purpose of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And it's going to go from staking to liquid staking to cross-chain staking. And this is something that nobody's been talking about. So, we have you guys know like the Chad versus Melvin type of thing. So this is going to be the Chad, going through degen levels and staking. So staking and locking an asset in an unreleased system with no launch date sometimes can happen. Degen level 1. Liquid staking. So now we're going to create a derivative of that asset that's staked, inside of like something like ETH2, and it's just being there, just validating, waiting. I could be making yield an APY on that. So let's make a derivative of that and earn some extra money while that asset is still earning validation rewards. Great, degen level 2. Now you've ascended cross-chain liquid staking. Let's mint a derivative of that derivative to earn money while the actual staked one is still on the chain, also earning money, and we have the derivative locked inside of a bridge or a vault or a validator or whatever you want to call that. You've ascended to degen level 3. So here's the Melvin. Different levels of risk involved in each of these. Yes, there's some profits, but this is about the risk and the long-term think of what we're doing. So staking medium risk. We've seen how maybe there's some risk on the project not actually releasing it. We have high risk liquid staking, and we'll go through all these are, and then ludicrous risk on some of this. So let's start with the medium, and we'll talk about slashing, of course. Validators, one similar on ETH2 that are proof of stake network. You can lose your staked funds if you're not maintaining that validator and it's not configured correctly, maybe it goes down, you're not validating a couple blocks and you don't even know about it because you're not monitoring it, and your rewards go away. It's happened time and time again. So this is why we put our money inside centralized systems to stake for us, because they know how to manage infrastructure, right? But they don't really know how to manage financial risk sometimes, as we've seen quite recently with some companies. So, no mercy. There's really no guarantee that the staking protocol is error-free also. There may be vulnerabilities in that itself. And an example of this, I'm not going to read through all of it, and I'm not going to call out some of them, but this was a nice post on the GitHub of the ETH1 to ETH2 dev merge, where they were having a conversation, and really, without reading through it, translating it is, don't worry, we'll figure out a secure way to withdraw and move out the stake later. Just go ahead and merge it. Whoa. So this is some of the things going on here. And as investors, are you guys really reading into the GitHub comments about some things going on? No. So maybe we should be thinking about these things before we let people put money in it. So what the F is liquid staking? He's asking for a friend. He's just the risk assessment. Allows for the owners of an asset, which lock, let's say the ETH, in a protocol or network to effectively unstake that asset and use it elsewhere. That's liquid staking. Nothing wrong with that. Yes, you might make some money with it, but what's the risks with this? The long-term one, not the short-term one. Our Chad here is very interested in knowing, how do I do that? Sounds interesting. So it's usually done through issuance of derivatives, a tokenized version of that. And this can be transferred, it can be stored, something like ETH, and now you have your liquid, your staked ETH, and you can now invest that in something else, put it inside of a DeFi protocol. Okay, so great, sounds awesome. Sounds like double money, right? So yeah, here's like a quick architecture diagram. We could see over here, you have your whatever protocol, whatever your layer 1 chain is, proof of stake chain, it's in there. You have some staking contracts and liquidity pools that are allowing you to say, all right, well, we're going to check that here. And here's their liquid staking derivative asset. And make money here. Now I can also unstake and do some DeFi protocol degenning and earn some extra yield. Free money. Yes, that's right, Chad. It does look like double free money. So this is what it happens. Like, it lets the owner maintain that liquidity and keep validating while they're just like, waiting for ETH2 to happen eventually. Well, if you've seen The Big Short, Michael Burry, as our great actor here, Citation, says that looks kind of familiar. So let's not talk about DeFi for a bit. Let's talk about 2008 financial crisis and maybe some similarities to think about. Not bearish, just some warnings because I lived through this. And a big part of that, if you know about what happened, there was these things called mortgage-backed securities where they put in some very shady assets inside of there, and it was created this like conglomerate of many different assets put in there, but all the crap was kind of there, the Jenga puzzle, and a lot of speculation led to that. So we have these different assets that all kind of like came together in a perfect storm of complex financial models like CDOs and mortgage-backed securities, and synthetic assets that are derivatives like swaps and futures. Then, of course, use extra leverage on that, so hedge funds would come in and do that on margin. And then, of course, volatile collateral, like loans with high default risk. You're giving like very large home loans with the interest rates there to high-risk people that may not pay that off. So when you compare that to the DeFi, complex financial models, I hear a lot of security. The complexity is the enemy of security. That's the truth. I could say that. I mean, it can be an amazing architecture. I like complexity. It's a beautiful thing when it's controlled chaos. But complexity is the enemy of security. Synthetic assets, wrapped assets, liquid staking assets we're talking about. Leverage, so margin use on exchanges can be considered leverage. We all I do it too, like whatever, so guilty. And then volatile collateral. It's crypto volatile? I don't know. What's your peg, really? I suppose that's that. Plus unrealistic APY. Let's add a little salt to that. So you have pricing risk. What if the liquid staking price of something like staked ETH becomes lower? Not algorithmic stable coins that we know can happen there, but due to withdrawal restrictions, it makes a real market-making model impossible. Adoption risk. What if the protocol just forever is always being built and actually never comes out? This can, I love Ethereum, but if ETH2 ever did fail, we're almost there, but if it did fail to reach required levels of adoption, then it could cause some type of financial impact. All right, so let's go on to the last layer around here. What about cross-chain liquid staking? So now, this is not my final form. Allows for the owners of a proof-of-stake chain native asset that is locked to unstake it, then transfer that derivatives to a bridge into another blockchain with which will make a wrapped version on the other side while their token is locked in that bridge. Okay, let's visualize that a bit. And first, let's answer the question, of course, we've ascended to that, must know more, how? So, we could read through this. A great example of this is being, the derivative token, the wrap token, and the liquid staking token. They'll continue to receive the staking rewards, but they'll also be able to bridge it on a completely separate network in this multi-chain, cross-chain environment, and get the wrapped version on the other side to invest it in getting some APY. So, visualization of derivatives. We have our, native token here. Then we have our liquid staking token that's, locked up in the bridge now because you want to keep it there to redeem a redemption, and then you have your wrapped liquid staking token on the other side. So now here's what our very simple network looks like now, and where can we find risk inside of this? We have proof of stake. So we have this locked in validators doing rewards. You have a smart contract, that is creating the liquid staking derivative asset here. So smart contract creating that derivative. Then you're going to lock that inside of the cross-chain bridge here. So it's in a vault. And while it's in the vault, the other side is going to mint your derivative here, the wrap token, and then the wrap token is going to be here so you can use it in whatever DeFi protocol on some chain. If any of those components fail or something goes wrong, like what often happens, we could be disconnected from the native asset completely. The core of what you have is validating. So think about it. I don't want to sound like a doomsayer. I just want people to think about the risk of what's involved and what are you creating. It can be done right. It can be done in a safe way, but sometimes greed can get in the way. Sometimes us as security auditors, we know, yes, we want to move fast and we want to build things. But when you move fast and break things, people's money gets lost. Or we're all in this together. My co-founder, Rob, always says, all boats rise with the water. And we believe in that too. If we think selfishly about doing quick and making lots of money right away, what's the long-term effects of that? This whole ecosystem has been burned many times. With Terra, with what's going on with Celsius and all of them, and in previous era, how many shots is it going to take until people start not believing anymore? I want it to happen. So let's think about that. Michael Burry says this looks familiar to him again too. So let's go back to the 2008 financial crisis again. And instead of looking at the derivatives part of it, the mortgage-backed securities, the liquidity part. So what happened, in hindsight, back then I didn't really know too much about it. I'm just, whatever. My dad's upset because his 401k is really low. Now looking back, in summary, what happened was the counterparty risk became so great that with the mortgage-backed securities and the loans coming out, that they asked for more collateral to cover their margin so they wouldn't risk of getting defaulted. And the liquidity providers, you could say, the dealers that finance it off the repo markets, they ended up just withdrawing, taking it out, and that was what was needed to make these markets, to redeem your options or to get your swaps and collateral back. And without that there, the ability for anybody to exit those positions just completely evaporated. So it's kind of similar to what happens if our bridge gets cut off or there's a flaw in the contract. So you can see here the summary. After the days of the outflows and shrinking capital, eventually Federal Reserve Bank lent $30 billion to Lehman Brothers and bailed them out. And everything's happy again. Hasn't happened in DeFi yet, and I don't want it to happen. So just wanted this to be for the builders out there to think about this. Because who is going to bail us out? I don't know. Maybe Sam Bankman-Fried, That's Cefi, though. This is DeFi. So let's hope we never have to find that out. All right, that's all I have. Sorry, guys, for I'm just optimistic about this too. Just think of it as a warning. This is something just for everybody. We look at a lot of protocols, and we're here to help secure you guys. But it's usually a lot of the technical risk. The financial risks are not really thought about often. So go off and build amazing things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steven. So yeah, we actually have 10 minutes for the questions. So does anyone have any questions? Yes, yes, no?
Yeah.
No? Okay, yeah. Are you ready for the questions? Okay.
Always. I love answering questions. It's my favorite thing.
Hi. So given in 2008 financial crisis, the role that insurance companies played in that as well, what are your thoughts on insurance in DeFi?
It's a good point. Yeah, insurance is always, I consider, the last layer of defense in any hack. You do preventative things, you get audited, you do monitoring, you prevent things from happening. If all else fails, you have Nexus Mutual. You have like some type of insurance protocol to cover your loss. But what if the losses are so great that even the insurance protocols themselves may not be able to provide enough collateral for that? That's the risk there. In the financial crisis, there was insurance protocols, but the insurance companies were involved in this as well. They were, taking all of the different insurance coverages and the premiums that customers are paying and investing it into, capital markets and the things. So they weren't the first domino in the fall. So the bailout, the liquidity access just kind of got thrown into the market as a whole. When you have a cross-chain, you have different capital in different networks. They're not all part of like the US Treasury system. So you don't have that benefit of liquidity for everybody. They're not all in the same, we're all in the same system. If you count out like Forex, these are different networks. So are they going to bail out, this chain or this chain or this chain? Like whose fault was it? Was it the smart contract developers on this chain, or was it the bridge owner on that side? There's nobody really to provide coverage for. So as a user, you're kind of screwed if in a worst case scenario. So if it gets large enough to fail, then insurance could either. But that is usually the last line of defense.
Okay, so my question was, what do you think is the highest security level for a cross-chain bridge?
You mean a platform? Well,
in terms of architecture.
Yeah, in the architecture, I would say atomic swaps and just native assets. When you have wrapped assets, they can become a risk. The bridges, when you look at the bridges and it's acting as a vault, it's a single place that an adversary or a hacker can go to steal funds from. It is like a bank vault. So you're not going to attack the end users. You're not going to go and try to get their MetaMask key and take their 3 Shiba Inu coins. You're going to go for the vault. So they're targeted, and when you have that conduit as the only gateway out or in, then it's a risk for everybody. So now you've added a single source of failure. I thought this was supposed to be decentralized.
Hello. So one question from me. Like you mentioned about the risks, that are involved with all these staking, platforms. Like if we make sure that the smart contracts, are properly built and properly audited, is it enough here to ensure the security, or are there any other measures we need to take?
It's a good question. It's part of it. So there's no magic bullet for any security. It's always defense in depth, and you try to do as much coverage as you can on the different layers. So when you look at this, diagram again, you'll have smart contracts or programs, here and here. So if you do audits there, yes, you can protect maybe the liquidity pools that are minting and burning them, or you can protect the staking derivative assets. But sometimes these bridges are running as nodes, or even we've centralized systems like a AWS server running a MongoDB. So that could be it. And there's not just vulnerability risk; there's liquidity risk. So if all the funds get drained from there, then how are you going to swap back out? You're just going to mint, this wrapped thing again and again. This is what causes value to go down, and we've seen that with, UST. So it's, smart contracts. Yes, it'll help support the system, but it's just one layer, which is, at Halborn, we don't just do only a smart contract audit. We try to look at it holistically, end to end. Any more questions? Yes?
How do you help the industry to make bridges more secure?
I think it's more about developers should be doing their own risk evaluation on, what are they building. This is something that, we can't do. It's, back to the second slide here. Ask yourself, this, that. So we're all in a rush. We all want to get things out sometimes. That's one aspect is like security takes a while. It's very complicated and there's a lot at stake. And on the other side, with what we're building, what are we doing? We should not be doing something, along the lines of building a store of value, something that's holding a lot of value without, taking people's money and putting something in there before you even deployed or thought how you're going to let them take it out. So, maybe take your time and just have a working full concept before you start putting, people's hard-earned money in that.
All right, guys, any more questions? Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Steven. Yeah, thanks.